Jessica, I said without preamble, I'm going for a world record. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then, you're going for a what? Guinness World Record, I repeated, my voice filled with manic glee. Most Christmas lights on a residential property. I'm going to beat Karen with sheer, unadulterated, festive illumination. Another pause. Then, a burst of laughter. You're absolutely insane, Brian. You know that, right? Probably, I admitted. I'm in, Jessica said without hesitation. What do you need? It's that time of year again. The most wonderful time of the year. The time when I, Brian Patterson, transform into my alter ego. The Sultan of Sparkle, the Maharaja of Merriment, well, you get the idea. I love Christmas decorating. I'm talking full-blown Clark Griswold-level dedication. We're not talking a few measly strands of lights and a sad plastic snowman. Oh no, we're talking extravaganza. Right now, I'm up on a ladder, wrestling with a string of LED lights that seems to have a personal vendetta against me. Come on, you little twinkle, darn you, I mutter, finally getting the last bulb untangled. Down below, my yard is already starting to look like Santa's workshop exploded. There's an 8-foot-tall inflatable Santa waving merrily at passing cars, and occasionally terrifying small dogs. A family of light-up reindeer grazing on my dormant lawn, and enough twinkling lights wrapped around every tree and bush to illuminate a small city. And that's not even mentioning the pièce de résistance, my synchronized light show. I've spent weeks programming it, painstakingly timing the flashing lights to a medley of classic holiday songs. It's a spectacle, a symphony of light and sound. Well, it's a lot, but it's my lot. And the neighborhood loves it. Every year, families drive from all over Harmony Glade to see my display. Kids press their faces against the car windows, their eyes wide with wonder. We've even been on the local news a couple of times. Local man spreads holiday cheer, one blinding light at a time, the headline read last year. I framed it, but of course there's always a Grinch, isn't there? I was just admiring my handiwork, sipping on some hot cocoa, with extra marshmallows, obviously, when I saw it. The envelope. That dreaded, cream-colored, official-looking envelope with the Harmony Glade Homeowners Association logo emblazoned on the front. It was tucked under my welcome mat, which, ironically, was currently buried under a pile of inflatable snowmen. My stomach dropped. I just knew, this wasn't going to be a holiday card. I ripped it open, my cocoa-fueled optimism quickly turning to ice. Yep, violation notice. Apparently, my magnificent, awe-inspiring holiday display exceeds the acceptable brightness level for a residential property. I was being threatened with fines if I didn't tone it down. Tone it down? I sputtered, crumpling the letter in my fist. Tone it down? This is Christmas, not a funeral. This was war. This was a declaration of war on Christmas itself. My phone was already buzzing. It was Jessica, my best friend, and the only person who truly understands my holiday obsession. They're attacking Christmas, Jessica, I practically yelled into the phone. Christmas! They're saying my lights are too bright. Can you believe that? Jessica, who's lived through my annual battles with the HOA before, they once complained about my inflatable Thanksgiving turkey being too jovial, just sighed. Sounds like Karen is at it again, Bree. Karen, I growled. I should have known. Karen Holloway, the president of the Harmony Glade HOA, was my nemesis, my arch-enemy, the Scrooge to my, well, excessively festive self. You going to the meeting? Jessica asked. You bet your sweet bippy I am, I said, already formulating a plan. This isn't over, not by a long shot. The next HOA meeting was scheduled for Tuesday night. I spent the intervening days stewing in my righteous indignation and preparing my defense. I printed out pictures of my display from previous years. I gathered testimonials from neighbors, Okay, I asked Jessica to gather testimonials from neighbors, but still. I even found a study online that claimed Christmas lights boosted neighborhood morale. I was going in armed for bear, or, in this case, armed for Karen. The meeting was held in the Harmony Glade Community Center, a room that always struck me as deeply ironic. It was supposed to be a place of community and togetherness, but it was usually filled with petty squabbles and passive-aggressive rule enforcing. And the decorations. Oh, the decorations. For a meeting about holiday cheer, the room was shockingly devoid of it. They had this one sad, pathetic little Christmas tree in the corner with about 5 ornaments and a string of lights that looked like they were on their last legs. It was the Charlie Brown Christmas tree of community centers. And then she walked in. Karen Holloway, the Grinch, in a pantsuit. She was wearing a red and green sweater with little embroidered reindeer, but her expression was anything but festive. It was the kind of sour, pinched look that could curdle milk. She had that tightly wound bun that screamed, "I judge your landscaping choices." Karen took her place at the head of the table, gavel in hand, and surveyed the room with a look of barely concealed disdain. "Good evening, everyone," she said, her voice as sharp and brittle as a candy cane. "Let's get straight to the point. We have a situation." She clicked a button, and a projector flickered to life, displaying a picture of my house, my glorious, illuminated, wonderfully excessive house. "As you can see," Karen continued, her voice dripping with disapproval, "Mr. Patterson's holiday display is, well, it's in violation of several HOA guidelines." "It's a nuisance," she declared, her voice rising in pitch. "It's too bright. It creates traffic issues. It's gaudy. We must maintain a tasteful holiday aesthetic in Harmony Glade." Tasteful. That word again. It was like a dagger to my festive heart. I stood up, clutching my carefully prepared documents. "With all due respect, Karen," I began, trying to keep my voice calm and reasonable. "My display is a beloved neighborhood tradition. Families come from all over to see it. I've even been on the local news." I pointed to the pictures I'd brought. "These are from previous years. As you can see, I've never had any complaints before." I then brandished my testimonials. "And these are comments from neighbors who love the lights." I even added, "I'm happy to adjust the timing of the light show to minimize any traffic disruption." Karen barely glanced at my evidence. She just waved her hand dismissively, like she was swatting away a particularly annoying gnat. "Tasteful, Mr. Patterson," she repeated, her voice like steel. "Tasteful! Your display is anything but tasteful. It's an eyesore. It's too much." "Too much?" I echoed, my voice rising in indignation. "Too much Christmas spirit? Is that even possible?" But Karen was unmoved. She had that look in her eye, that glint of steely determination that said, "I will not be defeated by a man who owns more Christmas lights than I own pairs of sensible shoes." And that's when it hit me. A spark, an idea, a glorious, ridiculous, over-the-top idea. Karen thought my current display was excessive? Oh, honey, she hadn't seen anything yet. I smiled, a slow, wide grin that probably made me look slightly unhinged. "You know what, Karen?" I said, my voice suddenly calm. "You're right. It is a bit much. I'll see what I can do." The meeting adjourned, and I left, my mind already racing. Operation. World record was officially a go. Karen wanted tasteful? I'd give her the biggest, brightest, most untasteful display the world had ever seen. "Okay, Karen, you want to play hardball? Let's play. You think my current display is excessive?" "Honey, you haven't seen anything yet." I needed a plan, a strategy, a way to make my Christmas display so undeniably, spectacularly over the top that the HOA, Karen, and the entire population of Harmony Glade would be powerless to stop me. "Think, Brian, think," I muttered, pacing my living room, which was already starting to resemble a Christmas-themed obstacle course. "What's the ultimate trump card? What's bigger than the HOA?" And then it hit me. Like a bolt of lightning. Or, more accurately, like a bolt of 1,000,000 twinkling Christmas lights. "The Guinness World Records!" I exclaimed, startling my cat, who was napping peacefully on a pile of inflatable reindeer. I rushed to my computer, fingers flying across the keyboard. Guinness World Record, Christmas lights, residential property. There it was, the Holy Grail, the official Guinness World Record for the most lights on a residential property. I clicked on the link, my heart pounding with anticipation. The current record, held by some family in LaGrangeville, New York, was a lot. 687,000, give or take. It was an impressive number, a daunting number, a number that would make most sane people reconsider their life choices. But me? I just grinned. "Challenge accepted," I whispered. This was it. This was my destiny. This wasn't just about beating Karen anymore. This was about achieving Christmas decorating immortality. This about becoming a legend. I started doing the math. My current display was probably around, 50,000 lights, maybe 60,000. I'd need to up my game. Significantly. "All right, Google," I said, cracking my knuckles. "Show me where to buy industrial-grade Christmas lights." I wasn't messing around with those flimsy residential-grade strands anymore. Oh no, we were going pro. I'm talking commercial-quality LED lights, the kind they use to illuminate entire city blocks. I needed miles of lights. I needed enough lights to be visible from space. I found a website that specialized in wholesale Christmas decorations. They sold lights in bulk, on giant spools, like they were selling industrial cable or something. I started adding things to my cart. 1 spool, 2 spools, 10 spools. My credit card started to cry. I ignored it. "I'm practically single-handedly keeping the Christmas light industry in business," I muttered as I finalized my order. The total cost was astronomical. But hey, you can't put a price on glory, right? Or on petty revenge. I needed to tell someone. The only one who get my madness. I grabbed my phone and dialed Jessica. "Jessica," I said without preamble, "I'm going for a world record." There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then, "You're going for a what?" "Guinness World Record," I repeated, my voice filled with manic glee. "Most Christmas lights on a residential property. I'm going to beat Karen with sheer, unadulterated, festive illumination." Another pause. Then, a burst of laughter. "You're absolutely insane, Brian. You know that, right?" "Probably," I admitted. "I'm in," Jessica said without hesitation. "What do you need?" The lights started arriving a few days later. And when I say arriving, I mean they were delivered. On pallets, by a truck. It was like Christmas had come early, except instead of presents, it was an avalanche of multicolored LED goodness. My garage, which was already pretty full of Christmas decorations, was now completely overflowing. Boxes of lights were stacked to the ceiling. Spools of wire were everywhere. My neighbors started giving me curious looks, probably wondering if I'd finally lost it completely. "It's for art," I'd tell them vaguely, waving my hand dismissively. I realized pretty quickly that I couldn't do this alone. I mean, I could, but it would probably take me until next Christmas. I needed help. I needed a crew. "Operation World Record is officially a go," I announced to Jessica and a few other friends I'd managed to rope into this madness. "We're going to need ladders, scaffolding, and maybe a crane. Anyone know where we can rent a cherry picker?" We spent the next few weeks in a whirlwind of light-stringing activity. We climbed on the roof, wrapped lights around every tree, every bush, every shrub, every conceivable surface of my house. We created a swirling, dazzling, almost overwhelming tapestry of light. It's beautiful, Jessica said, stepping back to admire our handiwork one evening. It's also completely bonkers. Bonkers is my middle name, I replied, grinning. But it wasn't just about quantity. I wanted quality, too. I decided to upgrade my light show. This wasn't going to be just some blinking lights on a timer. Oh no. This was going to be a full-blown, professional-grade spectacle. I invested in a new control system, one that allowed me to synchronize the lights to music with pinpoint accuracy. I added lasers, strobe lights, and even a projector that could display images on the side of my house. I spent hours programming the show, creating intricate patterns and dazzling effects. And then, because I'm all about giving back, I decided to turn this whole thing into a force for good. I partnered with a local children's charity. We'd set up a donation box at the end of my driveway, and all proceeds from the light show would go to them. So, it's epic, it's insane, and it's charitable, I told Jessica. Karen is going to hate it. The final step was the official application to Guinness World Records. I filled out the forms, provided detailed documentation of my light count, which, by the way, was now well over 700,000, and submitted photos and videos of my increasingly insane display. This is really happening, I thought, as I hit the Submit button. I'm actually going for a world record. It was terrifying. It was exhilarating. It was Christmas. The night had finally arrived. The grand unveiling. D-Day. Or rather, L-Day. Light Day. After weeks of planning, prepping, and enough light stringing to make my fingers bleed, it was time to unleash my masterpiece upon the unsuspecting world, and more specifically, upon Karen Holloway. I stood in my front yard, surrounded by my crew, Jessica, Mark, and a couple of other friends who had been foolish enough to get involved. A remote control in my hand. This wasn't just any remote control, mind you. This was the master control for my entire light show, the key to unleashing a level of holiday illumination that Harmony Glade had never seen before. "You ready for this?" I asked, grinning like a kid on Christmas morning, which, let's be honest, I basically was. "Just hit the button, Brian," Jessica said, rolling her eyes, but I could see the excitement in her eyes, too. I took a deep breath, held it for dramatic effect, and then I pressed the button. My house exploded with light. And I mean exploded. It was like a supernova of festive cheer. Every single one of those 700,000 plus LED lights blazed to life, transforming my humble abode into a beacon of blinding, beautiful, over-the-top holiday glory. It was so bright, I'm pretty sure you could see it from space. The colors shifted and danced, the lasers sliced through the night sky, and the projected images, snowmen, reindeer, Santa himself flickered across the front of my house. The music, perfectly synchronized to the lights, blared from the hidden speakers. It was dazzling. It was overwhelming. It was breathtaking. It was everything I'd dreamed of and more. The reaction was immediate. Cars, which had already started to gather in anticipation, slowed to a crawl. People gasped. Kids shrieked with delight. I heard someone yell, "It's like Disneyland exploded!" And honestly, that wasn't too far off. Within minutes, the street in front of my house was jammed with cars. Families were piling out, oohing and aahing, taking pictures and generally basking in the glow of my ridiculously excessive display. It was a scene of pure holiday joy, a testament to the power of, well, a whole lot of Christmas lights. Then the local news crew showed up. They'd gotten wind of my project, probably from the numerous calls to the power company complaining about a sudden surge in electricity usage. The reporter, a perky blonde woman named Tiffany, shoved a microphone in my face. "Mr. Patterson," she said, Can you tell us a little bit about your display? I, of course, was prepared for this. I'd put on my Santa hat, a sparkly one, naturally, and practiced my aw shucks, just spreading some cheer expression in the mirror. Well, Tiffany, I said, grinning like a lunatic. It all started with a dream of creating the most spectacular, most festive, most illuminating holiday display this town has ever seen. And, of course, I added, gesturing to the donation box we'd set up for the children's hospital, it's all for a good cause. And we hear you're going for a world record? Tiffany asked, clearly impressed. That's right, I said, puffing out my chest. Guinness World Records, here we come! And then I saw her. Karen. She was standing at the very edge of the crowd, her arms crossed, her face a mask of horrified disbelief. She looked like she'd just bitten into a lemon that had been soaked in vinegar and then rolled in disappointment. It was glorious. Karen didn't approach me right away. She just stood there, fuming, probably trying to figure out how to shut down my operation. But the crowd was too big, the energy too positive, the sheer brightness of it all too overwhelming. Finally, after about an hour, during which I basked in the adoration of the crowd and gave approximately 17 more interviews, Karen marched up to me, her trusty HOA clipboard clutched in her hand like a weapon. "What is this?" she demanded, her voice barely a whisper, strained with barely contained fury. It wasn't even a question, really. It was an accusation. I smiled, a big, wide Cheshire cat grin that I'd been practicing all week. "Just spreading a little holiday. Cheer, Karen," I said, my voice dripping with innocent sweetness. "Sharing the joy of the season with the good people of Harmony Glade. You know, being a good neighbor." "This is outrageous!" she sputtered, her face turning various shades of red and purple. This is unacceptable. It's a public nuisance. It's a safety hazard. It's festive," I interrupted smoothly. "And, I might add, quite popular." I gestured to the throngs of people still marveling at my display. But, Karen stammered, clearly flustered. "The lights, the brightness." "Oh, I don't know, Karen," I said, feigning concern. "I think Guinness World Records might disagree with you on that one. They're sending a representative next week to, officially certify it as the new world record holder for most lights on a residential property." That did it. That was the final blow. Karen's face went from red to purple to a sickly shade of white. She looked like she was about to faint. Her carefully constructed world of beige conformity and tasteful holiday decorations had just been shattered by 1,000,000 points of multicolored light. You, she spluttered, unable to form a coherent sentence. Then, she turned on her heel and marched away, disappearing into the crowd, her clipboard trailing behind her like a defeated flag. I watched her go, a feeling of pure, unadulterated triumph washing over me. I had done it. I had vanquished the Grinch. I had saved Christmas. And I had done it all with an obscene amount of Christmas lights. It was a good night. Predictably, Karen didn't take her crushing defeat lying down. Oh no, she went full scorched earth. Within 24 hours, I received another one of those dreaded HOA envelopes. This one, however, wasn't a violation notice. It was a summons, an emergency HOA meeting called for the express purpose of discussing, and I'm sure condemning, my excessive holiday display. "She just doesn't give up, does she?" I said to Jessica, showing her the letter. "Nope," Jessica said, popping a piece of popcorn into her mouth. We were having a movie night, surrounded by the comforting glow of my, record-breaking light display. "But she's fighting a losing battle. Everyone loves your lights, Brian. Even my grandma, and she hates everything." The emergency meeting was held, once again, in the Harmony Glade Community Center. The pathetic little Christmas tree in the corner seemed to have shrunk even further, as if cowering in fear of Karen's wrath. Karen, looking even more tightly wound than usual, I didn't even think that was possible, stood at the podium, her face a mask of grim determination. "This madness must stop," she declared, banging her gavel. "Mr. Patterson's display is a menace to our community. It's a safety hazard. It's a traffic nightmare. It's untasteful." She tried to rally the troops, to get the other HOA board members on her side. She proposed a new rule, a draconian bylaw that would effectively ban any holiday display that exceeded, like 10 strands of lights and 1 inflatable snowman. But it was too late. The tide had turned. The community, it turned out, had a serious case of Christmas spirit, and my lights had become the symbol of that spirit. People started speaking up. "I think it's wonderful," said Mrs. Gable, the sweet old lady who lived next door. "It brings so much joy to the children." "And the charity aspect is amazing," added Mr. Henderson from across the street. "They've raised a ton of money for the Children's Hospital." Even the city council, it turned out, was on my side. They'd received so many positive comments about my display, and so few complaints, other than from Karen, of course, that they refused to enforce any HOA restrictions. "We believe Mr. Patterson's display is a testament to community spirit and charitable giving," a city council spokesperson said in an official statement. "We commend his efforts." Karen was losing, badly. And then, of course, there was the charity fundraiser. It was a massive success. We raised thousands of dollars for the local children's hospital. People were lining up to donate, to take pictures, to bask in the glow of my record-breaking display. It was heartwarming, it was inspiring, and it was, I have to admit, pretty darn satisfying. The final, glorious nail in Karen's coffin arrived a few days later. A team from Guinness World Records showed up, complete with official measuring tapes, clipboards, and very serious expressions. They spent hours inspecting my display, meticulously counting every single light, with the help of some very patient and very cold volunteers. And then, it was official. "Mr. Patterson," the lead Guinness representative announced, a smile breaking through his official demeanor, "I am pleased to confirm that you are the new world record holder for the most lights on a residential property." The crowd, yes, there was a crowd, erupted in cheers. I was handed an official certificate, a framed document that would forever commemorate my triumph over the forces of HOA darkness. I was a legend, a Christmas legend. The aftermath of my victory was, well, it was pretty much everything I'd hoped for. Karen, utterly defeated and humiliated, resigned from the HOA in shame. I heard, through the neighborhood grapevine, that she'd moved to a remote cabin in the woods, a place with no electricity, no Christmas lights, and presumably no joy. Good riddance, I say. Me? I became a local hero, the Christmas light king of Harmony Glade. People would stop me on the street to congratulate me, to thank me for bringing so much joy to the neighborhood, and of course, to ask for tips on their own holiday displays. And naturally, I started planning next year's display. It was going to be even bigger, even brighter, even more outrageous. I was thinking maybe a holographic Santa, a laser light show projected onto the clouds, and possibly a live reindeer petting zoo. The possibilities were endless. Local businesses, seeing the massive crowds my display was attracting, started offering sponsorships. I had offers from the local hardware store, the Christmas tree lot, even the local pizza place. They wanted to project a giant, rotating pizza onto my roof, which, I have to admit, was tempting. Then, one day, as I was walking to check the mail, a U-Haul pulled up, stopping at the house across the street. I watched as new neighbors start to move in. One evening, as I was outside, tinkering with a new laser projection system, it was going to project snowflakes onto the entire street because why not? The new neighbors, a young couple, approached me. "Excuse me," the woman said, a mixture of awe and bewilderment on her face. "We're new to the neighborhood, and we were just wondering, why does this street have the biggest, most insane Christmas display in the country?" I grinned, adjusting my Santa hat, which, at this point, I pretty much wore year-round. "Oh, that?" I said, gesturing casually at my house, which was currently glowing with the intensity of 1,000 suns. "It's a long story. It all started with a little HOA misunderstanding." And I proceeded to tell them the whole glorious tale. The violation notice, the Grinch-like Karen, the quest for the world record, the charity fundraiser, the ultimate triumph of Christmas spirit over HOA tyranny. They listened, their eyes widening with each increasingly ridiculous detail. By the end of the story, they were both laughing hysterically. "You're kidding," the man said, shaking his head in disbelief. "That's incredible." "Only in Harmony Glade," the woman added, grinning. "Only in Harmony Glade," I agreed. I look over at my house, at the dazzling display of lights, the inflatable Santa waving merrily, the reindeer grazing peacefully on the now completely illuminated lawn. It was perfect. And I don't think I need to add anything else. At least, not this year. The world record, after all, was mine to defend. And I had a feeling Karen Holloway, wherever she was still fuming about it. And that, my friends, was the best Christmas present of all.